to talk, that'd be good.
Tell the coach to make sure your phone's on vibrate.
Yeah, first time ever.
Me too. Greg, what you got?
You win that one.
Coach, you got the next 4 games are away from here. What do you hope to kind of learn or expect to learn about this team during that stretch?
Well, you hope to learn that you're pretty good, but that's the reason you play. Davidson, I think, is very good, presents some really unique challenges. They made 25 threes in 2 games. They made 25, we shot 26. I think it was 27, but we made 6. And so that's a unique challenge that we haven't played against yet this year, so that's a way for getting us ready. Playing in a tournament 3 straight days, we're going to face 3 different styles. That's another way to get us ready. I've always said that pre-conference games are supposed to get you ready for conference play. Quality of the opponents we have pre-conference play this year are some of the best teams in the country, and not many of them here. So it'll be a big-time challenge for us.
Where would you like to see Nate grow the most throughout this season?
About 10 inches. And
Touche.
then he can be 6'11", and I'd like him a hell of a lot better then. In every phase of the game, I think he's doing some of those things. He was a defensive award winner the last game. His shot looks better this year than it did last year. I think over the course of the season, his assist-to-error ratio will be even better. So I want him to continue to improve so the load is not on Marcus the whole time. See, Nate and Joel have got to be playing for us so it's not such a load on Marcus. And I thought last year he did an unbelievable job with all that on him. I don't want him to have that this year. But Nate, pressure on the ball, keeping the guy in front of him the other day was one of the things that gave us a little spark 2 or 3 different times.
How have you seen Joel adjust to learning the system? Because Bryce said you guys have kind of gotten off Nate's back and now have gotten on Joel's.
That's a little bit true. You know, I ask him, are you really who I thought I recruited, kind of thing. He's such a wonderful kid. He wants to do well so badly. I think he's stressing himself a little bit. He is going to be a very, very good player. I sat here 2 years ago, and a bunch of people in this room thought I was crazy when I kept saying how good I thought Marcus Page was going to be. You go through things as a freshman. Ty Lawson's game against Winthrop in Charlotte was the second or third game. He had 7 turnovers or something crazy like that. So you have to go through sometimes, sometimes you don't, but most of the time you go through some growing pains with him. But Joel's going to be a very good player. We just got to get him to relax and be Joel Berry. It doesn't have to be anybody else.
Your first 2 games are in kind of rapid succession, then you have some time to really get back on the practice court. Are there certain things that you're focusing on? You have some of that time away from game action.
You mean this week?
Yes.
Yeah. We needed to let them rest a little bit because we played Friday, practice Saturday, play Sunday, so we gave them Monday off. But Tuesday and Thursday we went pretty doggone hard. And I think we need the practice time. The length of the preseason is longer than it was, and it gives you, sometimes a false sense that you got plenty of time to do things, and all of a sudden you're playing games and you said, oops, I didn't do this. So it's given us some time to go back and make sure we have covered everything. And but during the course of the season, you're always going to add things. Last year we didn't play our 1-3-1 until January, but we were working on it all year, and so we've got to continue working, trying to build a strong foundation. But this week of practice was good for us.
Was there one thing in particular, like you were saying, you think you've got a good handle on it, then you see games and maybe you don't, that stood out from the first 2 games where you thought, probably need, but not as far as I hoped on that?
No, because you get to be very picky and want to make sure you've got to play when you're down 71 points with 1/10 of a second to play and the ball's out of bounds outside the building. You can't cover everything, but you think about those kind of things. But I thought our foundation is what got us through the first 3, and we're still trying to make that stronger. But we'll be still adding things as we go along.
If you could design your ideal post player at power forward center, what would that look like, and how close is Kennedy, at least as far as what he could be, to what that looks like in your head?
Wow. Ray LaFrance, Nick Collison, Tyler Hansbrough, Sean really good post players. Kennedy's got to get to the point where he pushes himself more. He's got to be a greater sense of urgency in his play. And if he does that and continues working on his body, where he'll become more explosive and be more of an athlete. Right now, he's an athlete, but not an explosive athlete. All those other guys were pretty explosive. And everybody forgets how Sean could rebound in a big-time crowd. And so I think it's maturity, and it's him continuing to work unbelievably hard on his body.
And just for his rebounding numbers, percentages wise, are pretty close to what Sean was able to do. Just as
When
far
he
as-
gets 24 points and 21 rebounds against Duke, then you come and tell me that.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
probably per minute. I know it's not
No,
the same.
I'm not talking about per minute.
Okay.
He rebounded against you guys. And you get me to, Nick Collison has 26 rebounds against Duke. When he does that, then you come and talk to me and we'll talk about it. That's what he's got to do. And again, it's stamina. Because the other night he only played 17 minutes, and those were really good numbers. But part of it was his fault because he got in foul trouble. And then the other part is I took him out because he wasn't getting up and down the court. But, you're comparing, that's not comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges there.
What didn't you like about your pressing and trapping last weekend, and how correctable is it with this group?
I didn't like it when they got so many layups, or when we didn't get an interceptor to the interceptor spot. But it's a process that you have to continue going through. And we've worked on it some this week. We'll work on it again today. And we've had probably 2 teams that could really, maybe one, that could really press you in the full court, because I don't really believe in that. And it's hard to coach something that you don't really believe in. Bobby Knight said it's a lot easier to cover half the court than it is a full court with only 5 guys. So it's pretty simple to figure out. But we've had some great teams in half-court pressure, and that's what this team has a chance to really be, and that should be our bread and butter on the defensive end of the floor.
You've had some teams in the past where you looked at it early, didn't really work out, and you kind of backed away from it. You don't anticipate backing away? You think this team's going to be doing this all year?
It's too early to say. I guess we'll have to wait and see how well we do it. That'll be the whole thing, because the other day we did one thing that we never did a single time last year. Marcus Page ran from behind and knocked the ball loose. Good pressing teams do that a lot because you get used to doing that. We didn't do that a single time last year. Marcus has done it in practice. Nate has done it in practice. So there's still some things that we can do. And the other thing right now, we're trying to see who deserves all the minutes. And one way to get more minutes is to have more possessions, and then you get to see more action with everybody.
You guys have seen a lot of zone defense the first 2 games. Do you anticipate seeing more of that given the makeup, or was it just a matter of that's what those teams do?
A little bit of both. I mean, we'll see more of it. When we get into conference play or some, Kentucky, Ohio State, those people aren't going to play a defense that they don't always play. Just because it's North Carolina, they're going to go to what their strength is and play that, and then maybe throw a couple of possessions in. If you tell me a team can't shoot a lick, I'm not going to play zone. And I'm not that abnormal. The other people aren't either. I always felt like you take away John Chaney and Jimmy Boeheim and have too many teams like Judd Heathcote. There's 3 people that had a chance to win a national championship playing zone. And everybody else has a better chance playing man-to-man. So, but once you get into conference play and playing some of those guys, if zone is part of their defensive system, they'll play it a lot. But if it's not, they're not going to do that. I'm not going to play boxing 1. I don't care if you get 60 a game. I'm not going to play box 1. I think it's a bad defense. So, but those guys that were playing at that in our league and in the Ohio States and Kentuckys and Wisconsins, they're pretty doggone good, or they wouldn't have the job they have. And so they're going to do what they feel comfortable with.
Once we get into next week in the Bahamas, will your players see a lot of different version of you than maybe the summertime? What's down there with?
Well, yeah, I mean, we went down there then. It was a pleasure trip, and hopefully get a few things accomplished on the court. This time, the only pleasure will be what we get accomplished on the court, as far as I'm concerned.
How much did you learn from your team during that first trip?
We didn't play. Everybody thinks we went. We didn't play inside the hotel. We played at a rec center, 20 miles away, kind of thing. I think every outing like that in every practice helps the guys get more acquainted with each other, builds your team chemistry. The biggest factor I think we had down there was playing somebody else. You know, we didn't exactly set the world on fire. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we lost the first game. And, so it's, I think you learn from all those things. And, if you'd give me another week's practice, maybe we would learn the same things with the exception of playing against somebody else.
Coach, with, you know, you had Davidson here last year and they took it to overtime and everything. With them shooting the three you talked about earlier, is that something that, you know, they don't, you know, really just not out of the game when you face a team like that?
Well, they're 25 for 50. You know, it's not 25 for 300. They're 25 for 50. So there's one of those guys that we talk about a lot. You know, just want shooters, you want makers, you want to make a lot of them. We're going to face some teams like that. There's other teams in the country that shoot a heck of a lot more threes than we do. We haven't shot a ton of threes, except for 2 years ago when we had no inside game. We shot a ton of them. But Davidson's not just a three-point shooting team. They're really a good team. I've been really impressed watching the tapes.
How does that challenge the traps, especially when they recover after?
You shouldn't trap people very much if they're a three-point shooting team. Because if you trap, that means two of you are on one guy, and that means you got three to guard four other guys. I was really a good math student. I figured that out. That's sort of stupid. You know, why should you go double team somebody and leave three guys to cover four good shooters? Excuse me.
If they have the Belford kid inside, but without Brooks there, do they play any differently? A little bit of nothing, seeing what you call through it.
Just came back from the hospital myself. I'm not sick myself. Every time I go in there, I come out, I wash my hands. I think I got more germs. They're different, but not a lot. I mean, it's, you know, we're different than we were last year. We've had two teams that have been drastically different. And that was when we went small a few years ago. And, but most of the time we're about the same thing. And that's what Bobby is. And they guard you. They play mostly man-to-man. They played a little 2-3 zone. They played a little 1-3-1. Brooks was their leading scorer, but he was just coming back from injury. I think we may have been his first game back last year after he'd been hurt, so I don't think we got him on his best day. The Sullivan kid at 33, you know, he's, I hate to even tell you, 3 for 19. He got 33 against us last year, so he sees Carolina blue color, he gets a little eyes, get a little fired up kind of thing. But they're a similar team, they really are. They got 3 starters back, and then the guy comes off the bench who plays quite a bit for them last year too.
Is there any way you use like neutral site games to get maybe the freshman crew ready for true road games?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think that there's a comfort zone playing at home that you don't have, whether it's neutral or definitely on the road game. So I think that gets them more ready for it. And I do believe that the pre-conference season is, I've said forever, it tells you, are you good enough to be one of those guys that can be talked about when you get into conference play. And we do have to play teams in the league on their court, so there's no question he gets that. In Charlotte, it's not as neutral as it would be to some other place, like it would be when we play Ohio State or like in the Bahamas, because there's going to be a ton of other people there. In Charlotte, there are going to be some Davidson fans who might pull for us as their second school, and there's going to be some North Carolina fans that might pull for Davidson as their second school. Some of those other places we go, we're not in their top 10, so there is something to that, though. Yeah.
Is there a bonus to going to Charlotte knowing that you could be back there in March? Does that play into scheduling at all?
Everybody says so. I don't know. You know, again, in fact, we played Kansas City 1 year, 3 games. We were great. We killed everybody in the NCAA there and lost. So I've never won or lost because of the building. You like having your fans and you like shorter travel, but somebody could say yes, but that's, I'm doing it because Michael wanted me to come play a game there.
Anybody else? All right,
Good.
thanks, Coach.
Great conversation.